Hello folks, it's Bill Swift from Swift Canoe and Kayak, and we're here at our Oxtongue Lake store at our test paddling facility. We are here with Carla and Mark Janeck on this beautiful day.
Hi Bill, it sure is a beautiful day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Now we're going to talk about the process of how you obtain, this is your canoe, this beautiful Keewaydin 16 Combi.
Yes.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you guys first get into canoeing?
Well, I've been canoeing most of my life. My family was very outdoorsy, so we would always rent a cottage in the summer, and my brother, sister, and I and my family would canoe every summer, but very casually. And then later in life, I bought my first canoe personally. I guess I was around 50 when I decided I was going to buy my own canoe, but I bought a very basic Kevlar canoe, and took it out a few times. Carla came out with me. It was a nice canoe, but it wasn't a Swift canoe.
So Carla, what did you think of the first canoe?
Well, it was lovely. It was a good introduction to getting out on the water. The thing I didn't like most was how heavy it was. So even though there was two of us, I felt holding the end of the canoe was just too heavy. It wasn't something that made it enjoyable.
Even taking it on and off the car and just to the water?
Again, yeah, it was just, we almost needed a trolley to get it to the water. It was that heavy. So I think ideally getting something a lot more lightweight was, had to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Mark, you are an artist. You seem to specialize in landscape paintings.
Correct, yes.
And let's talk about the very unique way that you guys obtained your first Swift canoe.
Okay, well, back around, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, Carla was working in a dental office. She ran a dental office in Stony Creek. And there was a periodontist, the local periodontist in Font Hill, that was organizing a paddle painting contest to benefit ALS. So through Carla, they had asked me if I wanted to participate in this paddle painting contest, which of course I was thrilled to do. I've been an artist all my life, but I was a commercial artist. So this was an opportunity for me to do something outside of my commercial work. So I was really excited about that. So I painted a paddle that had a moose, a bear, and a wolf on it, and did it very realistically and entered it into the contest. And I had the good fortune of receiving the highest bid of the auction, which was around $1,400.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, $1,400 for a beautiful paddle, folks.
I was shocked myself because there were some absolutely stunning paddles in there. One of them was even autographed by Blue Rodeo. And I didn't think, I was happy with my paddle, but I didn't think I would win. And when it received the highest bid, I was quite honored by that. But then the icing on the cake was that the periodontist had offered a Swift canoe as a prize for the paddle that had the highest bid in the auction. So I was awarded a beautiful Swift canoe, a blue Prospector, and it was just gorgeous. And I mean, I was blown away by that because for me, that was always a dream canoe for me. I lusted for a Swift canoe, and to have that gifted to me like that was just quite an honor.
And you didn't know that that was possible, that whoever had the highest bid was going to get a canoe?
No, I didn't. I knew that there was some sort of a prize for the highest bid, but I didn't realize it was a Swift canoe.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was quite an honor.
So you guys then, you got a Swift Prospector and you used it for a while.
I did, and in my heart, when I thought about a Swift canoe and I thought about my dream canoe, it was always two-tone. So I thought about this, the one I had won was a solid blue, so I thought this might be my opportunity now to get my dream canoe. So I sold the blue canoe, and using the proceeds of that and selling my old canoe as well, I decided I was going to place an order for a new canoe through Swift, and started my research process. I spoke to you a little bit on the phone, I emailed with you, and I dealt mostly with Brandon at the store, and he was phenomenal in educating me on the differences in the canoes and introduced me to the idea of the Combi canoe. And once I'd seen that absolutely piqued my interest, and it just fit so many needs for me.
Now, you also told me you watched a bunch of other videos from
Right.
some people that used our boats, and they influenced you some in terms of getting you more into canoeing.
Absolutely. When I started the research into Swift canoes, it introduced me to an entire culture of Algonquin Park and tripping. And I watched people like Joe Robinette and Alexis and Sean James and just endless videos. Carla and I would sit in bed at night and we would just watch one video after another. And it immersed us into this culture of Swift canoes, tripping, Algonquin Park, and just how it all kind of ties together. And we were hooked. We wanted to be part of that. So it was that very next summer, after receiving this, once I got the order in for this canoe, that I did my first solo canoe trip into Algonquin Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk then again about how you decided on this canoe. You told me that Carla and yourself came to the store, and you walked in and Carla saw a canoe. And let's have Carla talk about, Carla, what was your reaction?
Well, I saw this exact canoe, same color, two-tone, all of it, and I thought, that is the sexiest canoe I've ever seen. And at the time we had a nice gray truck, and I thought it would just look beautiful on top of our truck. So that's part of the reason we chose this color. I mean, in my mind, canoes were red or green, and they were pretty plain, but this is a canoe that with personality and beauty, and just, it was just to me the, quintessential Muskoka canoe that I think we had to have.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a canoes at a canoe camp, and beautiful cedar canvas red canoes at one camp and green at another.
Yeah.
And I always have felt that the beauty and the aesthetics of the boat are very important to your paddling experience.
It is. It is. It just makes you feel good. It's like buying new clothes, You're in a paddle, you're in a canoe, and you're proud of it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, it's functional, and it's sexy. Look at it, right?
Nice. How about that, folks? Sexy. We like that, Carla.
On a canoe, you gotta make it sexy.
It starts a lot of conversations at the portages. I can't even count how many people stop me and ask me about my canoe at the portages.
We had a beautiful carbon and negra texturing Keewaydin 17 rental at our South River store. And this one guy came back from a trip, and Bob told me that he said, I have a complaint. And Bob said, what? And he said, this canoe is so striking. I had to spend so much time talking about it at every portage I got to.
It's true.
It started affecting the trip.
It's true. It really is true. But, that's one of the things we love about Algonquin Park and tripping is talking to people. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's happy. Everybody's there because they have this common affection for being in the outdoors. So we just love that vibe that we have here and talking to people. It's great.
The Algonquin Park tripping vibe, and
Yeah.
even day tripping, and
Absolutely.
people you meet anywhere.
Yeah.
I find that true. Also, even at the visitor center, you'll go in.
Yeah.
Germans, people from France, all over the world come, and everyone seems happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only that, it brings your stress levels down instantly. We come from the city and traffic and all of that. As soon as you arrive here, get in the canoe, start paddling, your stress just goes away.
Nice.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk now, guys. You're good ambassadors for Algonquin Park in the North Country. Let's talk about this particular canoe and how you chose the options and the features that are in it.
Okay. Well, primarily we paddled together, tandem, but I wanted also to be able to go out on my own to do solo trips because it was just something, again, through watching those videos that I just felt this desire that I wanted to experience that and do some multi-day solo trips. So that I wanted a canoe that accommodated that. I also fish, so I wanted something that we could go out together fishing, or I could take it out on my own and go fishing. I mounted the fishing rod holder there. So there was that aspect of it. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so there is even the option of the three of us going together. We can put the seat in the lower position and the three of us can go out together. So it fit every need that I could think of while still being light, easy to portage, easy to get up and on and off the car. Beautiful, of course. So there was really, for me, I have room for only one boat at home, and I didn't want to collect boats.
Let's talk about that, Mark. You told me you just watched the George Burgess video, who has 34 canoes of his own.
Correct. So I was watching that video, and I thought, I'm the exact opposite of George. George wanted a canoe for every situation that he faced. I wanted one canoe that would face every situation that I came across. And for me, this has absolutely fit the bill for me.
This is actually our fastest growing category for boats we build, and in particular the Keewaydin 16 as a combi.
Yeah.
It's such a nice boat.
I've heard you refer to it as the Swiss Army knife of boats, and I couldn't agree more. It does exactly that. Yeah.
Now, so you talked to Brandon quite a bit, and he helped you put the order together. And how was your experience working with Brandon and so on?
Oh, amazing. I felt like a VIP, even though I had never shopped at Swift before, and we had just met Brandon. He makes you feel like you're the most important person. He's quick to respond to emails, endless questions, as you can imagine. The decision-making process was long for me, and it was through the winter months, so we didn't have an opportunity to test paddle. So choosing between a prospector and a Keewaydin, there was information gathering there and understanding the differences and what makes one special, one different than the other. So he helped me along with all that information, plus all the videos on YouTube that you guys have put out. Tons of information there. In fact, we just watched one recently where a couple was deciding between a prospector and a Keewaydin. And all the information that you guys talked about there is exactly the same kind of thing that Brandon helped me with as I made my decision. And then Carla and I went up to the store, and of course with her reaction saying it's the sexiest boat she's ever seen, how could I not choose this combination? As a husband, you know, if your wife's happy, everybody's happy. So no, it's been absolutely fantastic. The purchase experience was great.
So I think everybody's really knowledgeable, which helps, right? They're
Yeah.
longtime employees and very knowledgeable about the brand and the company and products.
And they love paddling too, like you guys do.
Yes, they speak from experience, not just off of a spec sheet. They talk about their own personal experiences, and he has a dog, and he talks about how great the boats are with the dog in them, and that's something that we will likely have a dog in here as well one day. So it's all good information, good practical information.
Now, you guys have had the boat for a while now, and you've done day trips, you've done some overnight trips. Why don't we talk about that, like your usage and your experiences with the boat?
Okay, well, mostly it's been pure satisfaction. We've taken it on some multi-day trips. The first trip we did was a 3 nights, I believe, up to Sawyer Lake. And we had a fantastic experience, apart from Carla losing her sleeping bag on one of the portages. We had to go back for that. But
Extra paddling.
extra paddling. So we got
And you found it.
Yes, we found it, and we got a few extra laps in that day and really put some miles on it. But we find it very stable.
That's what I like about it too.
Yeah,
It feels stable.
it feels very stable.
Actually, let's have Carla. Carla, why don't you tell us, like, in the front of the canoe you sit?
Yeah.
So what are your experiences with the boat?
Well, getting in and out is a big thing for me because I have osteoarthritis in both my knees, so I needed to have something very, very stable, not tippy. And being a little bit nervous at first, I definitely wanted something that had more of a flat bottom. There's plenty of leg room. I mean, I'm not the tallest person in the world, but there's plenty of leg room, which is great. I can kneel, I can stretch out, and it's very comfortable that way. And then having all this room in the middle too, we can pack what we need. It's easy to reach. And get anything that we might need to get out of the pack in an instant.
I should also mention how much we like these contour seats versus the seats in our old canoe.
Exactly, very comfortable. You just sort of sit exactly where you're supposed to sit. It happens naturally. It's not that you have to find a comfortable spot, and I just feel like the weight distribution is really, really good.
Have you been out on some wavy days?
Yeah, coming back actually.
It's always coming back.
Coming back, and it was at Canoe Lake, actually, really wavy coming back. But it handles really well. You know, you kind of cut through those waves with ease, and I find it's fast. I mean, I suppose sometimes it's as fast as you paddle, but it feels like you just sort of cut through the water with ease.
Efficient.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So, Mark, why don't you tell us then how you feel in the back of the boat, and then afterwards we'll talk about solo.
Okay. In the back of the boat, I feel great. As Carla mentioned, I love the contour seats. I find that the way that seat rolls over at the front takes so much pressure off the back of your thighs when you're sitting, and I tend to tuck a foot, like one leg underneath sometimes, and I just find that it's super comfortable to have that contour seat. And the paddling station for me is very nice. Like with the tumble home, it creates a nice opportunity like to get a nice vertical paddle stroke, and I'm not leaning too far one way or another to get the paddle in nice and vertical, so it's very comfortable that way. The one thing I would say about sitting in the back of this is don't do what I did on our very first trip. I pulled up to the campsite, and as a gentleman that I was, I let Carla get out of the boat at the campsite, and then I wanted to take it around to the side and park it.
And then the bow's way up.
The bow was way up, and I actually tipped it on our first trip because I had no weight in the front of the boat. I was in the back, and I was trying to go around the corner, and I rolled it, and I tipped it. So that was a learning experience. But other than that, it's absolutely a stable boat. And Carla is not comfortable in waves or white water or anything like that yet because she's come to paddling a little bit later in life. So she's learning along with me as well as we go. So we're adventuring a little more and more all the time. She rode her first beaver dam last year, so we did a nice little shoot down a beaver dam. And you know, it's baby steps, but we're really enjoying the boat, everything about it.
So, Carla, what were you thinking when you saw him tip over?
I just laughed. I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, we were a little concerned about all his fishing gear kind of went out, and I think all the packs we had out already, but mostly just his fishing gear and camera and that sort of thing. But it all turned out well. He retrieved everything, and it was easy for him to sort of, you know, flip the boat and get back in, and that's a big thing too, right? Being able to manage the boat.
There's actually some people tip their boat over initially intentionally in shallow water just to learn what the experience is like, and it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen. Yeah. Quicker than you think.
Now, Mark, what that really taught you is why having a solo seat in the middle of the boat is so important. And let's talk about that now, your solo experience.
Absolutely. That was one of the main features of why I went with the Keewaydin Combi versus staying with just a tandem boat, because a tandem boat being the same on both ends, you can use it backwards by sitting in the bow seat. But I find that with these with the contour seats, they really lend themselves to sitting forwards. So I thought it just makes sense to get a combi boat where I'm sitting balanced in the center, I'm sitting in the correct direction of the seat, so I'm taking full advantage of the contour seat, and it just sets me up perfectly to use my double blade paddle. When I'm fully loaded and I have all my packs and I'm heading out for a multi-day trip, I put this seat down in the lower position so I get a nice low center of gravity. I use my double blade paddle, and I cover water very quickly, it seems. Like there's many times where I will be by myself and I'll pass tandem paddlers because I'm just using my double blade paddle at a nice leisurely pace, but the boat is so efficient and covers water so quickly that I'm passing people on a regular basis.
That's fun. I mean, then that's the intention of the Swift boats, is to make them very efficient. They're not race boats.
No.
But just at the average touring paddling speed, they really are efficient in the water.
Yeah, and this boat, it seems to find that balance between being straight line efficient and still being maneuverable enough that you can take it down rivers and you can turn it and you can maneuver it without fighting the boat. It just seems to do everything very naturally.
Yeah. And what's nice about this, you mentioned putting it in the lower position. These seats are so easy to adjust, so quickly you can change the height. And now, you mentioned to me that you like fishing a lot.
I do.
So which of the heights do you like to use the seat in when you're fishing?
Well, when I'm loaded up with my packs and I'm heading in for the weekend, I have it in the low position. But then once I get to camp, I set up camp, I usually put it in the higher position so that when I'm either out in the evening just for a paddle with my camera, or if I'm fishing, I'm in the high position and I'm either sitting or I'm kneeling in front of the seat and leaning back against it. But I can only do that for so long because my knees get a little angry at me. So I'll do a combination between kneeling and sitting for fishing and photography and just evening paddles when you're out there and watching the loons. And I find it really comfortable. And again, even in the high position, very stable. I've never felt uneasiness in the boat or felt like it was, not stable. It's always been great.
Now, you shared with me a very unique experience you had on your first solo canoe trip on Tom Thompson Lake.
Yes.
So why don't we tell the folks?
I had quite an initiation to solo tripping. Because as you can imagine, if you think back to your very first solo trip, it's a little intimidating. And I was intimidated by it. It was, again, inspired by a lot of the videos I'd been watching. So I took some comfort and knowledge from that. But going into the backcountry by myself, it was intimidating. And I spent 3 days on Tom Thompson Lake. And I remember on the third night that I was there, sitting looking at the lake thinking, why was I intimidated by this? This is the most relaxing, nice, I've fully regenerated. I'm relaxed. This is great. I was scared for nothing. I was worried for nothing. I went to bed that night and I was going to get up in the morning, pack up my camp and go meet Carla at Canoe Lake. And when I got up in the morning, it was dead quiet. I went down to the lake, had a look, came back, and I unzipped my tent. And as I unzipped my tent, the sound of unzipping the tent, a bull moose crashed out of the forest on the other side of my tent and did a bit of a bluff charge towards me and then turned and ran up the path to my thunderbox. And of course, I barely moved. I was just absolutely stunned. And I thought to myself, whoa, now I wanted to see a moose on this trip. I didn't want to see it like that, but I did want to see a moose. And I thought,
this is September.
This is September, mid-September. So I wasn't expecting rutting behavior that early. But he was definitely, he was not happy that I was there. And he went up to the thunderbox, and I thought maybe that would be the end of it. So I started packing up my campsite, and I was still shaking. And then I hear a couple of branches break. I look, and he's coming right back down the path into my campsite. And he's shaking his head back and forth, and he's just got the
big antlers.
The big antlers, the bulging eyes, and you could just tell he wasn't happy that I was there.
And they're big.
They are big. They are enormous when you see them.
For folks that haven't been real close to a moose, they are huge.
Yes.
1,000 pounds plus, some of them in Algonquin.
Yeah. And I had one of those wildlife deterrent horns, so I blasted that at him. Didn't do anything. He didn't even flinch. Just stared at me. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a tree to hide behind. I had nothing. I just figured if he charges me, I'm just going to have to jump in the lake. And I know they can swim, but I had no other option. So he took a few more steps down, and thankfully at that point he turned sideways and he walked along the edge of my campsite into the woods in which he crashed out of. And I think he found the cow moose that he had been with earlier, and the rut resumed. And I mean, you could feel it in the ground, the hoofs thundering, the branches breaking. They were going to town in there. And while they were doing that, I took that opportunity to throw everything into my canoe loose. I didn't pack anything up, threw it all into the canoe, and just got out of the campsite while I could, and then went to the next neighboring campsite and packed everything up properly.
That is an amazing experience.
It was quite an initiation to backcountry camping, yes.
I've had the experience at our place at Source Lake in Algonquin where two young bulls were facing off each other with their antlers and pushing each other, and it was being so close to it. It just, the power of it amazed me.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm not entirely sure that it wasn't two bulls in there, because I never did see the two of them together. It could have been, but I'm assuming by the sounds it was a cow that he was rutting with, but it could have been that it was another bull that he was sparring with.
well, what an experience. So,
Yeah.
well, let's transition from that, Mark, to
Okay.
a personal love of yours in life, painting.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you brought an absolutely gorgeous painting to me that I saw, and I had it in my house for a while. And let's talk about painting. Why painting and why landscape painting?
Well, I've been an artist all my life, so for 30 years I've been a commercial artist. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I was working in an office in Toronto. It was stressful. It was taking its toll on me physically and mentally. It was high stress. So about the same time that we became enamored with the Algonquin lifestyle, I decided that it was time to start doing something for myself. So I quit working in Toronto. I still have a business doing commercial art myself at home, but I wanted to focus my passion on artwork that made me feel good and that struck a chord with me. And that's where the landscape painting and specifically Algonquin Park and Tom Thompson and all this type of, and Swift canoe. Well, of course, it's something I love, so I wanted to put it in my painting. I just wanted to paint things that meant something to me. And this was something long overdue. And since I've started painting, it's completely changed my life. I'm more relaxed, I'm happier. I've received many great accolades for my paintings, which I'm very thankful for. So it's been a really beautiful transition, and I credit so much of that to that initial paddle painting contest, the Swift canoe, the videos, the YouTube videos, and just this momentum that it built in me to take that step and go out and start doing my wildlife and landscape painting.
So this is beautiful. As you know, Tom Thompson and many of the group of 7 painters were actually professional painters in the Toronto area.
Yes.
And then they picked up the landscape painting as a hobby on the side.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading about Tom Thompson, and it's actually really interesting how many parallels there is to his lifestyle to what I've gone through myself, and how he worked in a design firm in Toronto and came up to Algonquin, and it took hold of him the same way it has to me, and it's been a really nice transition.
Now you have a beautiful painting in particular. All of your paintings are gorgeous, but Symmetry, I think it's called.
Symmetry of Swift, yes.
That painting, let's talk about, so you asked me to get that painting back, and I gave it back to you, and tell the folks what you did with it.
Well, let me just first say that painting was based on a photograph I took on that very first backcountry trip. The night when I said that I was sitting there looking out at the lake and how calm and peaceful I was, that's when I took that photo of my Swift canoe that I then used for my reference for the painting. When I got it back from you, I entered it into a Paint Ontario art show in Grand Bend, Ontario. I entered 3 pieces, and it won one of the Sponsor Choice Awards at the show, and subsequently sold the very next day. So that was really great. And I also won, for one of my other paintings, I won a Sponsor's Choice Award. But the best accolade that I got from that show was that I was awarded a 3-week solo exhibition at a gallery in Oakville, Ontario. So they'll be showing my work for 3 weeks exclusively in the coming year in 2025. So all part of that. Again, Swift, the Symmetry of Swift was really a showstopper at that show, and got a lot of recognition.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So folks, we're going to do a separate video with Mark with his paintings.
Thank you.
Now, I think it would be really fun experience. We're going to show Carla and Mark out paddling in their boat tandem with their tripping gear, their setup in it, and then have you take it out solo.
All right, perfect.
Sounds good.
Let's do
Nice.
it.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming. This has been
Thanks
amazing.
for having us. Thanks for building
great. Thank you.
a fantastic boat. Yeah.
All right.
So much.
Cheers. Well, let's go paddling.
All right. Thank you.